Hello, class or professor, because you're going to be the only one that sees this. My name is Raymond Lopez, and I will be doing a presentation on oxygen levels in the Carboniferous era. The Carboniferous era the name derived from coal that we found in mining deposits around the world. When trees fell and they died, they would be caught in the swamps. This is what created the coal that we use today. Without this era, we wouldn't have the technology and energy source that we have today. The picture on the top right is a picture of the Industrial Revolution because I think it's very important to us because without the coal that we found from this era, we wouldn't be able to be where we're at today, and I wouldn't be able to record this video for you to grade. The bottom right is just a picture of a modern coal power plant that we see today. Oxygen levels in the Carboniferous era were high. They exploded into the atmosphere and created thriving forests and ecosystems. Oxygen levels were about 35% in the era, and today they're at about 20%. The reasons behind the high oxygen level was because when plants died in the past, they weren't able to be decomposed as they are today. This is due to the microorganisms that break down our trees today, and they deliver carbon dioxide back to the atmosphere. During the Carboniferous era, trees would fall in swamps to become coal that we use today, as I said earlier. As a result, this helped the huge spike in oxygen and loss of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. The trees were able to pull carbon dioxide in order to perform photosynthesis down, but they were not able to return it as they died because they had no microorganisms to decompose them. A cooler Earth meant better life on land. When the Earth was cooler, it meant that sea levels were receding and life was able to become more terrestrial rather than just the ocean life. Since it was lower, it meant that plant life such as forests and plants were able to grow in lower areas. This led to habitable areas on land. The picture on the top right is an old relative to the amphibians that came from the Carboniferous period. The bottom right picture is a 3D model of what they believe it to look like. Insects in the Carboniferous period. Insects are the main point to this subject because they were massive back then. Insects were able to breathe through their body through silica, I believe. With more oxygen, they were able to have larger bodies. This allowed them to grow larger because they had more oxygen in the atmosphere. Their growth was limited to the amount of oxygen that it's in the air back then, and that is why they are not as big as they are today. They're only little tiny little guys now. Examples of the large insects would be the centipede, which is about 6 foot, and the dragonfly, which had a wingspan of about 2.5 feet. Another theory was why insects were so large back then. That's newer than the theory that I just suggested before, was that there are lethal doses of oxygen, which is possible for every living creature on Earth. Since larvae weren't able to control the amount of oxygen they took in, they had to grow in order to survive past that stage. They evolved essentially. Since adult insects were able to open and close their spiracles, that's what I meant. I said silica earlier, spiracles to control their oxygen intake. They believe that larvae weren't able to do it as they weren't able to survive because insects were able to control it as they become adults. And they also believe that they became sluggish and that's why they had a shorter lifespan as well. Um, and that is my presentation. Thank you for listening. These are my references when you want to see them. Thank you and have a good day.